Hey everyone, my address here.
Our address.
Yeah, wait.
Our address.
Fun reveal. Aubrey landlord to Bryce era.
Aubrey's my landlord.
I am.
I sometimes text with sex questions.
Bryce, my favorite thing is that we can't see you, and there was a sound that just happened on your end. I couldn't tell if it was you cracking open a cold one or typing furiously on your gamer keyboard.
Oh no, it was fully me cracking open a cold one.
What cold one are you?
Hey everybody.
What cold one are you drinking?
This is grape grog, grape flavored hard soda, made by YouTubers in Australia.
My friend AJ texted me recently, upset about the fucking kid you like, his Arizona iced tea, the Rizzler.
What? That shit's delicious.
He was like, you need to get your people under control. And then I got to tell him that Arizona Iced Tea is not an Arizona company. It's actually a Brooklyn founded company.
It's true.
I didn't know that. I always thought we could claim.
No, we can't. They just picked it because they thought it sounded iced tea-y.
I bought 36 cans of the Rizzler's Rizzler Berry mix. And so far I've drank 11 of them, and they're very good. I also spent over $100 on the Rizzler Arizona merchandise. It included a t-shirt and a varsity athletic baseball jersey that actually kind of rocks.
It's gonna be worth so much money when the Rizzler inevitably commits a crime.
He would never do that to me. I won't let it happen.
Well, speaking of your heroes committing crimes, welcome to Informed Attraction, a podcast about big beefy boys, hosted by one wide receiver, one defensive tackle, and guest starring one linebacker. I'm Mackenna Goodrich.
I'm Dr. Aubrey Hoffer.
And today we are joined by someone who for a while we referenced on every episode of this podcast. And we're so excited to actually introduce you to him. Everyone, please welcome Bryce DiLullo.
Hooray, thank you. Whoa, ladies, please, one at a time. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me in the studio.
The studio meeting, a Zencaster room. Bryce is a lawyer.
The proper word is attorney.
Bryce is an attorney who is also our friend, who is also a football fan, which is why we have brought him on to this week's episode. Oh, also, Bryce is a woke king and woman enjoyer, since this episode is all about why it's complicated to be both a femme person and a fan of football.
And I hate football.
I like the term woman enjoyer. I want that to pop up on if I'm ever interviewed on the news, I wanted to say Bryce DiLullo underneath it, woman enjoyer.
Yeah.
That's why they're getting me on the street.
Yeah, I would say you're a woman enjoyer. Many of your friends are women. You date women. You're a woman enjoyer.
That's the idea.
And he appreciates.
A woman admirer, an appreciator of fine women, much like an appreciator of fine wine. A femme-molier.
Ooh, femme-molier is very
crazy.
clever.
Thank you. I host a comedy podcast. Did you guys know that?
Femme-molier is the kind of thing that I think is really funny, but also if a man put that on his Hinge account, I think he should be shot and killed.
There are some things that are only funny when a she, they says them, you know? So this week, I saw a number that was genuinely a little surprising to me. 47% of the NFL audience is women. And I say that as a femme person who watches football. Football is the number one sport among women in the U.S. Marissa Solis, who is the Senior Vice President of Global Brand and Consumer Marketing at the NFL, quoted some number that 68% of all women and girls in the U.S. are fans of the league, but I couldn't find that number anywhere else, so that one I feel less sure about. But many, many sources cited a number that was closer to 41%. And that's still a lot. 41% of all women and girls in America being a fan of football is a big number. And these are numbers that have definitely grown as the NFL has tried to appeal more directly to women in many different ways that we're going to talk about today. Bryce and I both watch football. I actually got into football watching football with Bryce. Aubrey hates football, and I am basically holding her hostage for this episode.
I don't find sports interesting. I don't find them amusing. I think athletes are probably evil. I don't like anything about it. But you know what? My good friends wanted to do this episode, so I'm trying to have an open mind.
Great. Were you ever an Olympics enjoyer?
No, I don't like anything athletics. I'm just yeah, cool. You can fucking throw the ball in the hoop. I don't I don't know, like, I understand that it's a skill. Like, I have done athletic things, right? Like, as I constantly mention, my brown belt in Krav Maga, like, I do think that, like, it is good, like, it is cool when people are skilled in some kind of athletic way. I don't find the industry around sports to be interesting to me. I'm also really grossed out by sports betting, and I think
Yes.
that the proliferation of sports betting is like a net negative for society, and that in the next like 10 to 50 years we're going to see a big uptick in like both suicides and also people pouring research into how to recover from gambling addictions, and it will probably be too little too late, as most things are in mental health.
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting there too is like now it's sort of expanded outside of just sports betting, because now with like literally like the Golden Globes had Polymarket on screen, and it's like
it's just late stage capitalism, and it's
Yeah.
just like, it's just gross to me. I also just like, I don't know, I the whole like thing with like sports fans where it's like fucking hick rednecks are really into it, but then people who have good politics are also supposedly into it, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's bad. Maybe that means that this is a bad space.
or a great equalizer.
I don't know. I don't want fucking MAGAs to feel comfortable anywhere. And they sure feel comfortable with the Super Bowl.
Well, they kind of don't this year, considering of the Bad Bunny of it all, but to the point that they're doing their own whole separate thing.
Well, and then also, like, I don't understand how you have to, like, pay a bunch of money to even watch the sports games. And I also always thought football had a, like, confined season where they are playing games, but my fucking idiot family watches football 24/7 because there's the preseason, then the postseason, and then they do other little special games. And it's like,
Well, there's also-
holy
there's-
shit,
I mean,
calm down.
There's a difference between like the NFL and then there's also like spring leagues now that do also do televised stuff.
It's just exhausting to me.
Yeah.
I think it's the great equalizer. What I'll say about it is, I don't think it's less that everyone feels comfortable at football and more like I feel comfortable with anyone at football. If I ever need to have conversation with someone, I can small talk about football and it's so easy. And I love this goddamn game. And there's nothing like when a big play happens and you hear the roar of the crowd and you go, ah! I love Kevin Harlan. Anyway.
Bryce, what's sort of like your lore and background with football?
My lore. Well, picture me. I'm in 3rd grade. I'm on summer break. I read Aragon and some other books, I bet. And I went to school and I hit my summer reading goal, so I get to get a prize out of the prize bucket at a little elementary school here in Arizona. And that prize, for some reason, was a Detroit Lions NFL like Play 60 flag football jersey. And I immediately latched onto it like nothing else in my life. I went home and I told my dad that I had a jersey, so I had to be a fan of this team from Detroit, Michigan. He said, sure. So he paid for the cable package so I could start watching out-of-market football games from Arizona. That year I locked in and watched every single Detroit Lions game that happened. And a really remarkable thing happened in 2008, where the Detroit Lions were the first ever NFL team to lose all 16 games in a season. And that was really something. And instead of abandoning ship off of this really random happenstance decision, I said they need me now more than ever. And I locked in. And at like 10 years old, I was reading draft profiles on Matthew Stafford out of the University of Georgia.
Oh.
They drafted him the next year, and he became my childhood hero. And now it's been 17 years of my life.
Yep.
And I am now a Detroit Lions diehard. And I love the game of football so much, I will watch literally any NFL game and have the time of my life.
Does Matthew Stafford still play for the Detroit Lions?
No.
Oh.
He's the quarterback of the LA Rams.
See, that's the other thing I don't get, is that it's like, so you have your little favorite guys, and you have your team you like with all your little favorite guys, but then if one of your little guys goes to the other team, then you're not a fan of that team, even though it had one of your favorite guys.
I have a very specific perspective on this that I will get into later, of the fact of how I came to the team that I am a fan of, and also like what I will do when my little guy leaves that team, and also that like I left the team that my family was supporting because I don't like Aaron Rodgers. So I stopped being a Green Bay Packers fan because he pissed me off so badly that I was like, and with that, I'm a free agent. I'm looking to sign with a new team.
You can think of it like who's your lifelong and then who is your little buddy. Because right now it's the Detroit Lions above all else. But once they're out of the playoffs, and they were this year, sometimes I'll still root for Matt Stafford and go, you go, buddy. It didn't work.
I did the
yesterday.
exact same thing this year. That's so funny.
What are the stereotypes of your respective sports teams? Like what is the stereotype of a Lions fan and an Eagles fan? My family are fans of the Cleveland Browns.
This is more of a Bryce question than a me question. I don't really know.
Let's see. Starting from the top, Detroit Lions, big stereotype of suffering. We were really bad for a really long time. We're probably the oldest team in the NFL that's never been to the Super Bowl. Never even appeared. But lately we've been really good and we got sort of overly confident, so we have a weird reputation at the moment. Cleveland Browns, way more suffering than the Detroit Lions. They're one of the perennial worst organizations in football. They fumble at nearly every opportunity. Right now, people keep withdrawing from their head coaching search to take worse jobs. So it's a real question of whether anyone wants one of the coveted 32 jobs on the planet, if it means coaching the goddamn Cleveland Browns. They gave a legend, Predator, a whole bunch of guaranteed money, and then he started sucking at football for no reason other than probably the guilt of his conscience.
Probably.
I just texted my brother and asked him, what is your favorite football team? And he is currently typing.
Okay.
So we're going to get a definitive answer on at least my brother. He said, oh yeah, obviously Browns. Come on, man. I'm gonna say they said you love to suffer.
It's true. And
Wait,
to round it out, the
Yeah.
Eagles fans, they're insane. They're crazy. They like climb flagpoles and eat horse shit when their team wins or loses. There's all this stuff about like if the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl, the city's gonna burn down whether they win or lose.
Yeah.
And it's sort of true. And in the past few years, there's also sort of a rep of bandwagon fans,
Yes.
which is an interesting thing to
I
get
am
into.
accused of.
It's true. And it's hard to really parse the way because it's like people want to be fans of good teams because they're fun to watch. Does that make them a bandwagon fan? Sorta. But you also don't need to earn the right by suffering first.
Well, like my grandma is a bandwagon Kansas City Chiefs fan, and she always talks about how she loves Patrick Mahomes. And I'm like, Grandma, you're super racist. Like, I don't really understand why you love Patrick Mahomes. Dalton said, ask them about Shador, #legendary, making the Pro Bowl. The Super Bowl will be ours in the next few years.
That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. They gave him... Okay, for some context here. Something happened a few years ago, and we call it the MVP. And it's the Nickelodeon Valuable Player. When they put some of the wild card games on Nickelodeon. And they did it where they had a public poll where you could vote for the player of the game and they would go and slime him. And everyone reacted to that by rigging the votes for the worst quarterback performance in the wild card round. And they gave the Nickelodeon Valuable Player Award to Mitch Trubisky, a.k.a. Mitch Kissin' Titties Trubisky. Legendary, lol cow, hilarious guy. And ever since then, people love rigging the votes for terrible players. Shador Sanders, by the numbers, by the stats, and by the eye test, is a horrible, horrible fifth-round rookie quarterback whose season was nothing but a failure and showed no promise.
Who is also a Nepo baby.
So is Dalton
everyone in the AFC got hurt, and they were down to like the 9th alternate. And by that point, people were shitposting with fan votes, and so Shador gets to go because everyone else has an exploded Achilles tendon.
Everyone else is dying.
So basically, my family are just the rage baiters, as always.
Yes.
Great.
Matt Stafford has played with like a deeply fucked up spine all season and is still 4 times the quarterback that Shador Sanders will probably ever be. I was going to say, so about me is it's fun to be considered a bandwagon fan of the Eagles, but the thing is I didn't pick to be a fan of the Eagles because the Eagles were good at football. I picked to be an Eagles fan because Jalen Hurts is hot, which is somehow worse to many men. So it just happened to be that he's hot and good at football.
So, I was telling Mackenna this yesterday, Bryce. So like, I always know if a celebrity is actually famous if my brother knows who they are, because he's not like a movie person, right? So when he was like, oh yeah, Timothée Chalamet, he's like a good actor, I was like, wow, Timothy's fucking made it. And I think that I am similar, like a proxy for that with football, because I can probably name 10 football players at maximum.
Name them now, because you didn't do it yesterday because I wanted to wait for today for you to do it.
All right, guys. I'm going to name every football player I can possibly think of.
Great.
Okay. Peyton Manning.
Was a football player.
Is he not anymore?
No, that's an old man.
Okay. Eli Manning.
Also no
Also
longer a football
retired.
player.
Okay. Tom Brady.
Retired.
Already?
Also
What do you
very
mean
old.
already?
He's like 48.
He's the oldest football player ever to win a Super Bowl.
Okay, I know who Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are.
Great.
Okay.
Do you know about the other Kelsey?
Jason Kelce.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm at 6.
2 active, 4 retired.
Two active. You've named 2 active players who are currently in the NFL.
Tiki Barber.
That's insane, Cole. Why are we talking about Giants running back Tiki Barber?
Why do you know who Tiki Barber is?
He's been on the Food Network a few times. I don't think I can name any others.
That's awesome, especially because I've named like 6 already this episode.
Who else is a football player?
If more come to you, you pop in at any time with another football player whose name has entered your brain palace. I will name many more throughout this episode.
I feel like that fucking Billy Eichner clip where he's like, name a woman.
Hey, you did name 2 people who are currently in the NFL. Travis Kelce might retire, and Patrick Mahomes is currently injured. But you know what? They still count.
That's really funny.
It's Tiki Barber.
No, Aubrey! Tiki Barber stopped playing in 2012!
That explains why he was on the Food Network so much.
Okay.
That's crazy.
This
is really funny, because in contrast, at any given moment, I can probably name all 53 players on the Detroit Lions roster, and I could probably get to 100 football players without blinking.
That's it. Name a football player you think I should know, and I'll tell you if I know who they are.
Before I said his name a few minutes ago, did you know who Aaron Rodgers was?
I thought Aaron Rodgers was a baseball player.
Okay.
So I was very confused. He was the one who was with Shailene Woodley, right?
Yes, they were engaged.
Okay. Is he going to be on the list later when I pick my favorite team? Okay,
yes.
Great.
Other people who
I don't know what he looks like. If you showed me a picture of Aaron Rodgers right now, I would not know who he was.
Well, you're going to see a picture of him later, so don't you worry.
Right.
I don't know.
Before we move on, a football player you should know, his name is Nick Emonwari for the Seattle Seahawks. Rookie safety, phenomenal season. Should be the defensive rookie of the year, but that linebacker from the Browns is going to take it. I want you to lock into Nick Emonwari and buy all the stock you can for Seattle's backfield.
I already forgot his name.
Son of a...
So, but I think a point that is here is that, like, there is, like, an interesting barrier to entry with any of these sports because, like, it can feel like you have to know a lot in order to start enjoying it.
You have to know, like, 100 years of history.
Right. And I think the thing that is true is, no, you don't. Because I am someone who, like, Aubrey, we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, that, like, I grew up being forced to watch sports and being like, fuck this shit. I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about my great love of Clay Matthews later. But when I started watching football with Bryce in 2020, I was asking so many questions because I just realized I was having a fun time watching the game with my friend. And that's what was actually important. But as a female, especially as a woman in a sports environment, sometimes you can be like, yeah, you like the fucking Philadelphia Eagles? Name 24 players or I'll kill you with a gun right now. And it's like, that actually doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. That's just my opinion. So, like I was saying, it is complicated to be a femme fan of the NFL. And I mean, like, it's arguably hard to be a femme fan of anything that straight cis men are also huge fans of, or even the primary fans of, because you start to get the immortal, oh, you like movies? Name 5 film directors whose entire filmography you've seen, or you don't really like video games? I'm sure you just played a lot of Animal Crossing. I read a lot of essays in college newspapers this week where young women talked about male classmates, asking them to name 5 players on whatever team they profess to be a fan of. Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, Devonta Smith, and Cooper DeJean, by the way. But noticing that the same question was not asked to male peers when male peers were like, oh, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. There are both a lot of roads into football and a lot of barriers to femme fans. So we're going to talk about those today. And by the end of the episode, Aubrey will have picked the football team she is going to root for the rest of her life.
Yeah, so I want to be really clear. So I decide what team I will rep forever based on when I see like a game for the first time. And so I always say that when it comes to hockey, I am a fan of the Washington Capitals because I saw a Capitals game when I lived in DC. And with the NBA, I am a Utah Jazz fan because the first time I saw an NBA game, it was the Utah Jazz. And then today we're not going to an NFL game, but I guess I'm going to be presented some sort of bracket with men's faces, and whichever one I think is the most fuckable, that is the team I'm going to now rep for the rest of my life.
Yes. Through a scientific process, we have determined this.
As God intended.
As God intended.
And if you say that my quarterback is unattractive, I might withhold rent and I might change our relationship forever.
Imagine I just end up right back in the family dynasty and what the Browns quarterback is just where it's at.
We're going to find out how sexy you find Shedeur Sanders later, don't you worry.
Great.
So now, as of writing this, 88% of our listeners are in the United States, but that means 12% of our listeners aren't. So, or you might be like Aubrey, and you're like, I don't know what football is.
Yeah.
So, some brief information about the NFL. The National Football League, or the NFL, is a professional American football league in the United States. There are other American football leagues in the US and other leagues around the world, but the NFL is the big one, as it were. It's not, I mean, it's for baseball, the MLB is called the show, but it's not called that in football. I don't know, Bryce, is there equivalent to that?
Equivalent to
like, because
MLB,
when you
the
yeah,
show?
because for MLB, when you like get into the MLB, it's called going to the show. But I don't know if there's a comp for that with football.
They call the league the Shield. That's just because of the icon.
Because of the icon, yeah.
Or just call it the league. I don't think there's a 1-to-1.
Right. The NFL was formed in 1920 as the American Professional Football Association, but then they renamed themselves to the NFL in 1922. Each NFL season begins annually with a 3-week preseason in August, followed by an 18-week regular season. Is that true? No, it's 16-week. Did I write the wrong number down? How many weeks is the regular season? It's 18 weeks, but it's 16 games.
It's 18 weeks. It's 17 games. Every team gets a bye week. They added the 17th game a few years ago, and they shouldn't have done it.
That was literally in my notes, and I just didn't read the sentence far enough. So my whole sentence was followed by an 18-week regular season, which runs from early September to early January, with each team playing 17 games and having one bye week.
Will someone briefly explain the rules of football?
Well, oh, yes, I'm going to.
Okay.
It shows up. Don't worry. We're going to do some league information, then we're going to do some game information.
Right.
7 teams from each conference, including 4 division winners and 3 wildcard teams, then advance to the playoffs, which is a single elimination tournament which culminates in the Super Bowl, played in early February between the winners of the AFC and NFC championship games. This year's Super Bowl will be between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks after a very devastating loss by the LA Rams last night.
Who are you guys rooting for? Are we Seahawks?
I am rooting for the Seahawks because I have some extremely negative feelings about multiple members of the Patriots.
I am riding for the Seahawks with my whole chest because I firmly believe their defense is like the most incredible unit in football right now, and I'm amazed.
I think it's going to be really hard for the Patriots to beat the Seahawks, personally.
I am here to issue Drake May slander.
I agree.
He is progressing all the way to the Super Bowl in his second year, giving up some horrible performances in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He scored 1 touchdown yesterday.
Yep. I don't understand the MVP conversation with his name being in the mix at all, but that's fine. This is me pouring one out for Matt Stafford, the LA Rams quarterback who had an incredible 17th season in the NFL. I wish you were in the Super Bowl, King, but he did already win one with the Rams. So even if you're not into football, you might be into the Super Bowl halftime show. This year's halftime performer is Bad Bunny, delighting the sane amongst us and angering a bunch of racists. Madonna's halftime show during the 2012 Super Bowl blew my mind when I was a teenager. Any standout Super Bowl performances from either of you?
I remember one year The Who were the Super Bowl performance, and I was like, yeah, because I love classic rock, and everybody was like, this shit sucks.
Bryce, are you dead?
Sorry, I muted my microphone to eat a really big boneless wing.
Do you have a Super Bowl halftime show that you really like?
I do. I remember Katy Perry's very fondly as a child.
Left Shark, famously.
Left Shark, that was great. Also, Katy Perry, foundational to me. I watched the 303 music video when I was in elementary school, and that really awoke something in me. I also thought Lady Gaga was really great.
Lady Gaga was really great.
And so is The Weeknd.
Yeah, I liked The Weeknd's too. People were kind of like miffed on that one, but I thought it was good. I thought it was weird, but I liked it.
If there's one that I can hate on, it's whatever they did when they chose like Snoop Dogg and Eminem and a bunch of other performers at the same time, and they made it a weird house.
Yes, that was not my favorite either. I am glad that Kendrick got to do his own last year, which I loved. Kendrick Lamar's like me and the watch party I was at for that one. We were all freaking the fuck out. It was so good. But I do think that the big one that was like a bunch of different rappers was a little confusing. And I was like, you should have just picked one of these guys. Also had a great time during Ushers. Ushers was fun. So an extremely brief description of how American football is played. A football game is played by two teams of 11 players on a rectangular field with goalposts at the end. The offense, the team with possession of the football, attempts to advance down the field by running with the ball or throwing it, while the defense aims to stop the offense's advance and to take control of the ball.
There's only 11 players on a football team?
On the field at any given time, like per team.
But how many are on the team total?
53?
53?
Is that true, Bryce? It's 53?
53, not including practice squad, which is like your reserve guys.
Yeah.
So I guess just what? Some of them just never get to play?
Well,
or does everybody get a turn?
There are 3 phases to a football game. There's the offense, the defense, and special teams.
Yeah.
Offense is when you have the ball. Defense is when the other team has the ball. And special teams is about kickoffs, punt returns, and field goals. Every position has a starter, and then there are a couple niche roles that will play like sometimes in select packages. And then a lot of your backups also need to contribute on special teams to be the guys like running down the field on kickoffs to tackle them. So most of the players on a roster will play on game day. The backups usually play on special teams or if someone gets hurt, and then the starters are there for the main show.
Okay.
Yeah. The offense must advance the ball at least 10 yards in 4 downs, and if they fail, they turn the football over to the defense. Points are scored primarily by advancing the ball into the opposing team's end zone for a touchdown or kicking the ball through the opponent's goalpost for a field goal. The team with the most points at the end of the game wins. Aubrey, any other football rule questions for me or Bryce before I get into talking about women specifically?
No.
Okay, great. You are now, that is basically as much information as you kind of need. There's lots of like, weird little rules and stuff like that, but that is the basic breakdown of how a football game works.
Okay.
And when you see a yellow line on the football field during the game, that's marking where the first down is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I read a lot of articles this week about increased female fandom in the NFL, and almost every single article I read started with one woman, someone, Aubrey, who you will recognize, Taylor Swift.
Classic. Because, right, isn't that the whole thing now where, like, Taylor Swift started dating a football player and now, like, everyone complains because now all, like, the girlies are like, ooh, let's watch the games.
Yes, there's a lot of backlash to her existence in football spaces.
Well, I bet the NFL's fucking stoked.
Correct. So I sort of scoffed at like so much of this being surrounding her at first, but I'm admittedly not someone who is friends with a lot of like hardcore Swifties. Like no one who I think only started watching football because like they wanted to see Taylor Swift show up at a Chiefs game.
I will say because I have been a fan.
Yeah.
She has been a football fan for like ever.
Right.
Like so I don't think like because I do think some people think that she herself is like a performative fan, and it's like no, like the people who have been fans of her, she has always said she is a Philadelphia Eagles fan like since like she was like 17.
Yeah. And I think I think the rage is more about like people being mad at like other people tuning in only to see her, but it's like, okay, whatever. Who cares? Any way that you get into football is a valid way of getting into football. That is like sort of my thesis of this entire episode.
I mean, I'm sure at any football game, right? If there's somebody who's famous in the audience, I'm sure there's like fucking clips of like, I don't know, Alec Baldwin watching a football game or something.
I think it was last year at the Super Bowl, Leonardo DiCaprio, it seemed like he was like, they kept showing him and he just looked like so not on this planet. Basically, if you don't know, Taylor Swift is engaged to Travis Kelce, who is a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. And a lot of these articles...
What is his job? Like, what does the tight end do?
Bryce, I'm gonna have you do... You're gonna do a better job of explaining that than me.
The tight end is kind of like the in-between for an offensive lineman and a wide receiver. The offensive linemen are the big men that stand in front of the quarterback so he doesn't get hit and move the defensive players so they can run the ball. The wide receiver is the guy who catches the ball. A tight end you can think of as a burly guy who does both. Okay. They're either the lead blocker that go in motion and act as the point guard for running plays, or they're big bodies that open up the middle of the field and act as a safety valve for your quarterback to catch the ball.
Okay. And he is, like, actually good at football, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I would say
Instant
yes.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Will go in the Hall of Fame. One of the best statistical tight ends of all time.
Yeah.
Great guy. People say he's fallen off, but even in his fall-off season, he's still, like, one of the top 12 tight ends in the league.
Well, and he's also, I mean, I think the average time that guys are in the NFL is like 3 years. And I think, what was this, his like 13th or 14th season?
Mm-hmm.
That's
He's old.
that's the other question that I have is, so like, how old are most NFL players when they start, and then how old are they when they retire? And then my understanding is that it's like when you're done, you just become like a commentator essentially.
So, I mean, most guys are drafted out of college. So I would say like you're gonna have a lot of guys who are between like 22 to 26, because if your average career is lasting 3 years, you're really gonna have a lot of guys who are like in their first and second years out of college, and then they're gonna be done. These guys who are like the namey ones who we keep, like Travis Kelce, Matt Stafford, Jason Kelsey, Jalen's still like rather young, Matt Stafford, Jared Goff, like these are all guys who have been in the league for a really long time. And that's part of why they are such names, is because they've had really like lasting career longevity and have played into their 30s. Tom Brady was 43 when he retired, I want to say.
Okay.
45?
45. He was in his mid 40s when he retired.
And that's like old as shit for a football player, essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It is very difficult to have a career that is longer than, I mean, again, most guys have careers that are around 3 years. So all these guys who are naming who have like 10 plus year long careers, it's like genuinely kind of astounding that they are able to do that.
So is it basically like most players probably don't make it in the NFL to like being like 30 and still being in the NFL, basically?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing about that is because the majority of NFL players are never going to be people you hear about.
Yep.
The majority of NFL players come from late round draft picks and undrafted players that make up like practice squads and backups and special teamers, and they'll just cycle through them. You know, once they get hurt, they're replaceable. Thousands of guys waiting in the wings, cycling through. So that's what it means when the majority of NFL players only make it 3 years, is because there's such a bigger bell end to the low curve. It's even an accomplishment to, make it to your second contract, which most guys can only get after 3 or 4 years, depending on when they were drafted.
Right.
That's when you've really made it. And if you're a superstar, then you're getting second, maybe third deals. And then that's about the end of the road. Because it's such a physically demanding game.
Right.
It hurts you. It ruins your body.
Well, right. Like, my in-laws live across the street from a guy who was in the NFL, and he's just like, a guy.
Yeah.
So basically, like, I guess what I'm thinking is like, you're saying like thousands of guys kind of like in this like system. And I mean, it's like anything, right? Where only like a very, very small fraction of them are going to be the superstar big names.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I guess after that, like if you're just like a football guy who like plays for 3 years and you don't really become anybody, you just kind of leave the NFL and then like what? Like coach football somewhere?
I think there's all kinds of, some people just go get like regular jobs, but like, okay, like we can use like my brothers are good examples. My brothers both played baseball all through college. They didn't go to the MLB, but they played baseball all through college, right? And so my older brother has a regular day job. He works in an office. My younger brother is a professional pitching coach for a training facility called Tread Athletics, and he like professionally coaches baseball. Most of his clients are high school and college, but I think he has a couple of minor league clients as well. And then like they have friends. I mean, my older brother played baseball with Cody Bellinger growing up, he is like a superstar in baseball, but he also has friends who played in the minor leagues, played a season or two in the major leagues. And most of them now, are either coaching or podcasting. And some of them just, got, normal jobs because they were like, my arm fucking hurts and I'm done. And I want to just like go do something regular now.
Yeah, I guess I just kind of make the comparison to, like, I think about actors, right? Like, actors who maybe are in stuff when they're in their, like, early to mid-20s, and then, I don't know, like, their career kind of falls off, and, like, I don't know, I feel like I hear more stories of actors, though, where they're able to sort of, like, sustain a certain level of doing, like, small movies, or, like, minor roles on TV shows, and, like, continue being, like, working actors,
Yeah. There's less of that also because of, like, it being sort of age banded. Like, I have a friend whose dad is a lifelong, like, he was on an episode of The West Wing. He's been on like multiple episodes of all of the Law and Orders and things like that. And he's in his early 80s now. Whereas it's hard to do that in football. I knew someone who I went to college with played not for the NFL, but I think he might still be playing, but Sam went and played American football in Finland. And so he was living in Finland playing football in Finland because there are leagues other places. That's like the thing in New Girl is Winston goes and plays basketball in Lithuania.
Okay.
So there are like you don't have to be in like the NFL or the MLB or the NBA to like play professionally, but like that is where a lot of the focus is.
Well, I'm sure that's where the money is.
Correct. So back to Taylor Swift. So a lot of these articles seem to point to the fact that a lot of Swifties started tuning into Chiefs games in the hope of seeing Taylor. During the 2023 NFL season, when Swift began attending football games in support of Travis Kelce, there was a demonstrable uptick in female viewers. According to data from the Apex Marketing Group, women viewership for regular season NFL games grew 9% from the prior year. And according to that same marketing group, the Swift-Kelce romance has generated an equivalent of $331.5 million in brand value for the NFL. But of course, there was like some, misogyny surrounding that because they viewed becoming a football fan because Taylor Swift was going to a game as a bad reason to get into football. But I'd honestly argue it's just as good as a reason as any to get into football. And it sort of points to this sort of gatekeeping that we've been talking about.
As opposed to the age-old reason, so that my dad will have something to talk to me about.
Or like, Bryce got a random jersey out of a box when he was a kid.
Bryce's Detroit Lions story is one of the sweetest things I've ever heard in my life.
There you go. Bryce, that's your value add to this podcast.
He choked to death on a boneless wing.
That's really funny. I accidentally forgot to unmute after I ate a boneless wing. So I've been saying, yay, hooray, ha ha ha, for like the past 5 minutes.
Perfect.
And no one was the wiser.
Yeah.
No one was the wiser. So a lot of people become fans of teams based on either where they are from or the teams that their parents are fans of. I personally have no allegiance to really any Arizona sports teams, except maybe actually the Suns, who I think I would say are my favorite basketball team. But that also happened later. That happened like, I got really excited about like Devin Booker and sort of like all the guys who were on the team in like 2021. And so then that was when I first got invested in the Suns after I was in the process of moving out of Arizona. And I have fully abandoned my family's historical baseball and football fandoms. Like my family is historically Atlanta Braves for baseball and the Packers for football. And I don't consider myself a Braves or a Packers fan.
There's a really interesting point there about bandwagon fans, where when I was really young, I loved the Phoenix Suns. And I would go to basketball games. That would be like my birthday trip every year. But I stopped watching them because they were ass. And I didn't want to do it anymore. And I just stopped watching basketball. But around 2021, when we made it to the finals, I locked back in.
Right.
Once they were that incredible bubble story, and they had a great core, and they were fun to watch, I've been keeping up with them a little bit ever since. And that kind of makes me a bandwagon fan, because I did drop them when they were ass.
Yeah.
And now that they're fine, I don't care again. They can be fine.
Well, it's also just like, who cares? Like, you think about like fans of like pop singers, right? And it's like, yeah, like you can be like like a big Ariana Grande fan, or you can be somebody who is like, wow, like this album she released is really good, and I like this, and I didn't like the one before, but maybe I liked the one before that. I don't know. And I get it. I guess old head fans will be like, you're not a real fan, whatever. But it's like, it's not that serious, guys.
It gets into the whole parasocial thing about being like, I'm a bigger fan than you. I have more of a right to like call myself a fan. And it's like, okay, who cares? So the NFL is also clearly trying to get more women into the sport right now. The league partnered with Betches, a digital media company that has been called the female counterpart to bro fraternity culture. This partnership started in last December 2024, and they also finalized a partnership with The Gist, a female fan-focused sports site and newsletter, in August 2025. They're also like in their branding and packaging around games, and generally they're leaning more into human-centric content and personal storytelling, which they have found is more attractive to their female fans. I feel like in every game I've watched this year, or at least late season I've watched this year, they've made a big deal of, Bryce, what is the award they give to the guy who's like a good guy on the team?
The Walter Payton Man of the Year Award.
Yes. I feel like I've been seeing like this year in particular, I feel like they've talked so much more about the guys who are the nominees from each team for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award.
And that's the interesting thing, is because they're not nominees anymore, because to encourage people to want to get it, they changed it so every team has a winner, and it's voted on by your peers for who's doing the most work in the community. And it's really respectable things. Like, it matters a lot to players on the team, so I think it's really awesome. But then all 32 individual team winners are put against each other for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, which is like the best community activist and engagement person in all of the NFL.
Yeah. Have they said who won it this year?
No, they announced that at the NFL honors before the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. They haven't said who it is this year yet.
I feel like to the point of the NFL trying to get more women in football, the thing I've heard, the thing that I've kind of heard, I think, from men is football is a space that's for men, and there's no spaces that are just for men, and now it feels like women are invading, and it's where do men go? And I don't as much as I'm that's really, I don't know, stupid, I also am kind of I kind of get that as a criticism where it's yeah, I like being in certain spaces that are mainly women and femme people, and if there were suddenly a bunch of guys in it, I'd be I don't know about this.
I also think it's a really interesting point about, I think there's a big theme where there's some backlash that's real and then some that gets amplified by the worst person you've ever met.
Yeah.
And I really think that happened with Taylor Swift. And it's unfortunate for Taylor Swift that she did start dating Travis Kelce at a time when the Kansas City Chiefs were a number one enemy in football.
We're really controversial boys.
There's such a fine line in football between when you're good out of nowhere, people love you, and you're an underdog, and it's great, and we're all rooting for you.
Why are they controversial?
Because they just because they won a lot for too long, and so people were pissed off about them winning a lot for too long.
Oh, okay.
If you're good for 2 years in a row, we hate you and we want you to die because you're getting in the way of my favorite team from being the good team.
Okay.
So it's for a long time, people love Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, but all these teams that people love keep losing to the Kansas City Chiefs and getting knocked out of the playoffs. And now that Patrick Mahomes isn't in the playoffs, we finally have a chance. It's the Patriots again.
I know.
We're back to this.
I know, because it was the Patriots for so long because of Tom Brady, and then he was gone, and it was we don't have to see the Patriots in every Super Bowl anymore, and now we're back to seeing the Patriots in every Super Bowl.
They were 4-13 last year. They're supposed to suck.
They're supposed to suck.
So then I feel the fans of the good teams must just be get good. Have you tried just being better?
Yes.
Yeah, they are. They're assholes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, look at all the trophies they got. Yeah. Sounds like somebody's jealous. Maybe I'm a Patriots fan. Guys, maybe I claim the Patriots.
Because you're America first. America first, Aubrey and the New England Patriots, everybody.
Yeah. I have some real beef with the Patriots that I will be getting into later when we get into the sexual violence section of the podcast. No! But before that, some more nice things.
Is that a recurring bit? Does that happen every episode?
No, just in this one, because that's a big problem with no, I guess it's mostly domestic violence with the NFL, but we'll get into it. NFL Chief Marketing Officer Tim Ellis brought in the idea of humanizing NFL messaging, showcasing players who are on the field as well as off of it. Internally, it's called the helmets off strategy. And Bishop said that the approach is introducing women to the game and its culture in a more approachable way. And there was sort of this acknowledgement in a lot of the articles I read that femme football fans have always existed, but they were always just sort of ignored or underserved by the organization and its media partners. I will also mention they are actually making cute merch for femme people now and not just taking a jersey and making it pink. Important names in the sphere are Zara Therese Tisch. Aubrey, it's another fucking Polish name. I can't believe it. Second day in a row. Kristen Jazik and Aaron Andrews' line Wear. And if anyone would like to buy me the Therese Eagles color block bomber, you just let me know.
Yeah, because football merch is ugly, historically.
And sometimes it's cute, though.
Okay.
Now it's cute. Sometimes it's cute now.
Okay.
So there are also more women working for the NFL and for its media partners now. In 2023, the league had the most women in on-field assistant coaching roles of any men's sport. And during this past season, the 2025 season, 358 women hold coaching and football operations jobs in the league, which is up from just 92 in 2020.
I'm guessing there's never been a woman who's coach of an NFL team, right?
No, there's never been a female head coach of an NFL team.
What is the most important position in the NFL that a woman has ever held?
I don't know off the top of my head. I have numbers.
A fun side story is in the 2010s, the Cleveland Browns legitimately wanted to interview Condoleezza Rice for their head coaching position.
Oh my God.
You know what? Maybe I do need to return to the family legacy, because that's hilarious. I do come from rage baiters. Maybe I am a Browns fan.
There have been several women who have been assistant general managers for teams. And the first Black female full-time coach was an assistant coach for the Washington Commanders named Jennifer King. And so there are a fair amount of assistant coaches who are women now. And then there's a fair amount of women who are working in like the general management office and in football operations.
Okay.
And for context, Aubrey, general management and football operations are people who are doing like scouting and contract management.
Okay.
Yeah. They've also been increasing the number of female analysts and reporters, to name a few: Laura Rutledge, Lisa Salters, Kate Scott, Erin Andrews, Carissa Thompson, Beth Mowens, and my blue sky queen, Mina Kimes. Kate Scott was the first woman to call an NFL game on the radio. And this was a quote from her that I think was very apt. Someone asked her basically like, how do men feel about you like doing the football play-by-plays, calling the games? And she was like, some are very honest and tell me, I hated you at first, but now my daughter is paying a lot more attention to the sport. So for this episode, one of my big sources was I read a Pop Sugar article called Taylor Swift Proves It's Not Always Easy for Women to Be Football Fans. The article is barely about Taylor Swift, and I think they just used her name in the title for clicks. But the article is primarily about the many reasons women become football fans and why it can be hard to be one as a woman. Towards the beginning of the article, the writer spoke to a woman named Hitha Palepu, who is a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Go Birds. She became a fan of the Eagles when her family moved from Ohio to Pennsylvania when she was a child. And then when she moved out west, she felt that her Eagles fandom kept her connected to home. Aubrey, I would love for you to read this quote from her.
There was a sense of connection and identity of being. I always felt like I was from Philly. No matter where we lived or how many times we moved, that felt like home. And the way I stayed connected to home was sports fandom.
I think it's also important to note here, though, that like she very specifically throughout the article refers to herself as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, not a football fan. And Aubrey, to explain that, she said this.
I don't identify myself as a football fan. I've never felt represented by or comfortable enough to call myself a fan of a men's sports league the way I could easily say I'm a women's soccer fan and a huge fan of the WNBA.
And I think that is something I feel very viscerally. So the last podcast on the left recently did a series on Aaron Hernandez, who was a tight end for the, say it with me, New England Patriots. Who was convicted for killing Odin Lloyd. He was also accused of killing Daniel De Abreu and Safiro Furtado, but was not found guilty of those murders. And he was also accused for shooting Alexander Bradley. He was posthumously diagnosed with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, which has led to speculation over how the condition may have affected his behavior. There is ongoing study on the link between CTE and violence. There's also just a lot of ongoing study on the relationship between football and CTE in general. Ed Larson, in that episode, in the series on Aaron Hernandez for the last podcast on the left, does a really great job of breaking all of that down. So I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds of it here. I'll put it in the listening notes if you want to go listen to it. But one of the things that Eddie talks about in that episode is that doing all this research made him come to the conclusion that he doesn't really like football anymore. And I think that makes a lot of sense. We'll come back to and talk more about the CTE stuff later. But I just want to mention, Aubrey, to your personal feelings, I think it is totally reasonable to look at the NFL as an organization and football as a sport and be like, hey, I don't think this lines up with my values. Yeah. So let's get into some of those tensions that femme fans specifically might deal with in regards to the NFL. We're going to start with the NFL's race problem. So about 71% of players in the NFL are men of color, primarily Black men, but the vast majority of coaches are white men, especially head coaches. And for a long time, you didn't see a lot of Black quarterbacks or any quarterbacks of color. They were largely white men, and that was due to a bias about the quarterback being a leadership position, and white players would be more likely to be selected for it at a young age. There are currently no NFL teams owned by a Black person, and so while men of color, specifically Black men, make up the majority of the players, that does not translate into management jobs or ownership, and there's obviously a lot of tension there. We've also seen players like Colin Kaepernick be punished for activism surrounding the shootings of Black men, but Nick Bosa gets a fine for wearing a MAGA hat after a game. So this episode of Informed Attraction largely surrounds my thesis statement of it's okay to pick a football team because you think a player is hot. So we're not going to really dive into all of these specific controversies today, but it felt wrong to do our football episode and not acknowledge them because, as I'll reiterate over the course of this episode, female sports fans are much more likely to care about the values of the players and of the teams. I think that players' political views can obviously play a role in what team you choose to support. I was really unhappy when some Eagles players chose to visit the Trump White House after their football win. Not Jalen Hurts, though. And Saquon Barkley went golfing with Donald Trump. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And it generally made me think less of him, and I get like a little irritated when he does well during games now because I'm like, no, I don't want you to do good because you did a bad thing.
Well, and I feel like they probably are all conservatives, right?
I don't think that is true.
I don't know. I feel like every football guy is like very Republican coded.
I think that to me, that is maybe more true of fans than the players themselves. I would say that the majority of players probably are in the same boat as a lot of celebrities where they're sort of just like detached from all of it, is what I would say.
Okay.
I would put them more in like that camp. Specifically, I would also say it's because, the majority of men in the NFL are men of color. And I think the environment sort of forces them to be silent about issues, especially because there's pressure on that from the people up above. But I think just also a thing that happens generally like in celebrity bubbles is you just kind of become apolitical. But I would not say that the majority of football players are like specifically conservative.
Okay. Basically, they have conservative fans and it hurts the bottom line for them to make them mad.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's true across, frankly, all sports teams.
And all celebrities.
Hello, Mackenna from the future here. Okay, so because I was interested in this topic, I found a study that said that of registered players, 44% of NFL players have registered with no party, and just more than 34% of NFL players were registered Democrats, and just more than 20% were registered Republicans. I don't think it said like what percentage. It looks like less than half who were eligible to vote were actually registered too. So like I think political leaning kind of cannot easily be ascribed to the NFL. I will say that a player named Aziz Al-Shaair recently wore eye black that said "Stop the Genocide" at a game. He's a Houston Texans linebacker. He was fined because you're not allowed to do any sort of like political messaging during games, and A, very cool of him to have done that, and B, I think that's part of why it's really hard to know because all of these players, A, it seems like a lot of them just don't care, but a lot of them are like really cagey about speaking out about stuff. Okay, back to the episode. So the Chicago Tribune also says the NFL has a woman problem. As of the writing of the Pop Sugar article that I referenced in August 2025, more than 130 players have been arrested for domestic violence since 2000, and the number of players arrested for sexual harassment, assault, and abuse is much higher. And yet research published in the journal Violence Against Women found that these arrests had a negligible impact on players' careers. I looked at many, many, many studies about the relationship between domestic violence accusations and players' careers in both the NFL and the NBA. And yeah, it basically kind of doesn't matter. And a lot of people thought this was going to change in 2014 after the Ray Rice incident. Aubrey, do you know what the Ray Rice incident is?
I don't think so.
Okay. Bryce, I'm sure you do.
I do.
Great. So Ray Rice was a running back for the Baltimore Ravens. And during the 2014 offseason, a video surfaced of him physically attacking his fiancée in an elevator. After being indicted for aggravated assault, Rice was released by the Ravens and suspended indefinitely by the NFL. But the same thing has not happened to other players with these accusations. USA Today keeps a database of NFL player arrests, and I went through the last 5 years and looked at any crimes against women. I wrote down the players' names and checked if they were all still currently in the NFL. Of the 27 players whose names I wrote down, 17 are still in the NFL, and a few additionally are still playing in the UFL, which is a spring league in the United States. And to be clear, I want to be very clear here. Just being accused of a crime does not mean they did it. So just someone saying that one of these guys did something does not mean they did it. And so this is not saying that I'm saying that like all 17 of these guys who are currently playing in the NFL definitely did the crimes that they accused of. But honestly, it was just kind of shocking to read the descriptions of some of these crimes and then look the guys' names up. And then all the articles are just like, insert player name here, Chats Texans win. I mentioned the New England Patriots earlier in this content because unless something has changed very recently, both Stephon Diggs, who is Cardi B's boyfriend, and Christian Barmore have open assault charges against them, and they will both be playing in the Super Bowl.
Yoink!
It's really horrible with Stephon Diggs specifically because they're using him as marketing, and they did this whole push after the championship game of, look how emotional Stephon Diggs is getting now that he's finally going to a Super Bowl. And then you read that they continued his trial for assaulting a woman so he could play in the Super Bowl. So It's like, and I have an interesting view here because of the legal process and like due process. You do like, just because of an accusation doesn't mean your whole life should blow up all the time. But there's more that comes with being a celebrity and brand icon. And maybe we don't promote Stephon Diggs as a beautiful, joyous man after there are some text messages that make him seem not great.
Yeah, and for specific context, so what Stefan Diggs was accused of is strangulation, assault, and battery of his personal chef, who is a woman.
Insanity.
Yeah, and then I forget what Christian Barmore's accusation is. Yeah, he was accused of assault and battery of a female household member.
God damn, Cardi B, pick a better man.
I have this is now a story that involves Bryce being a good man. I have a visceral memory of watching the Super Bowl in 2021, which was the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I was so fucking sick of Tom Brady at this point, who was at the time the quarterback for the Bucs. And I went into it being like, well, maybe the Chiefs can win. And then Bryce told me about Tyreek Hill, and my tune changed. Tyreek Hill is a wide receiver. He played for the Chiefs at the time. He plays for the Dolphins now, I think. Yeah?
Correct.
Yes. And in 2014, when he was in college at Oklahoma State, he was convicted for domestic assault and battery by strangulation. He threw his girlfriend around, quote, like a rag doll, punched her in the face, sat on her, and repeatedly punched her in the stomach and choked her. He was kicked off the Oklahoma State team for this, transferred to West Alabama, and then got drafted by the Chiefs. In 2019, he was investigated for breaking his child's arm. In 2023, he was investigated for assaulting an employee in Miami. In 2024, a woman accused him of breaking her leg. He could be... This one I'm just being petty, but he could possibly be the father of at least 10 children by 4 different women. I fucking hate Tyreek Hill, and watching the Chiefs get their shit rocked by the Buccaneers that year filled me with glee. The only time I've had more glee watching the Chiefs get their shit rocked was last year when they got their shit rocked by the Eagles. Go Birds! Anyway, Bryce, thank you for telling me about how Tyreek Hill's a bad man.
Yeah, I don't care for him.
I think all football fans should be disturbed by this. But the numbers indicate
and
that
they're not. Like,
right.
That's the thing, is, like, most of them don't give a shit, or worse, they're just being like, oh, we don't know the story, false accusations, or women are lie, and it's just like, I don't know, like, I believe women, especially when there's a fucking consistent paper trail of the same kinds of assaults happening repeatedly, but wealth and proximity to fame just, like, gets you immunity, apparently.
Yeah. So the numbers indicate that female football fans do tend to take these problems more seriously. Read Domestic Violence, a Statista survey from 2023 found that nearly half of female respondents believe players convicted of domestic violence should be permanently banned from the league, while 31% of male respondents felt the same. Returning to the Pop Sugar article, Detroit Lions fan Rebecca Baskin has talked about she won't draft players on her fantasy football team who've been charged with domestic violence. But she mentions that men that she plays with don't feel the same. And I will send this to Aubrey to read this one.
It never even crosses their minds. If I said I would never draft Ben Roethlisberger, a retired player accused by multiple women of sexual assault, which he has denied, they'd be like, why, she says. It just seems like, at least in my experience, my female friends who watch football are a little bit more sensitive to the controversies in the NFL.
And I will say, personal anecdote, I almost never hear men I know talk about these issues when it comes to football, except for Bryce.
Yeah.
I will not say Ben Roethlisberger's name. His name is Captain Fatfuck. Off of a YouTube video I watched one time that was awesome and derailed all the accusations. And that guy sucks.
Yep, agreed. Returning to CTE, women are also more likely to be concerned about player safety. A 2016 survey by the Public Religion Research Institute found that 37% of women, compared to 26% of men, would prohibit their children from playing the sport. And I think that's important to know that that's part of why the NFL has pushed back so hard on the connection between playing football and developing CTE. They need mothers to put their sons in football so that they can have more players. And if women think football is dangerous, they're not going to do that. My brothers were not allowed to play football because of it being more dangerous than other sports.
I would never let my children play football. Bryce, did you play football?
Bryce did play football.
I barely did. I went to a classical academy and then I did theater a whole bunch, but I played Pop Warner a little bit. And the crazy thing is, I love football enough, I probably would let my kids play football. And I would be way too psyched about it. And the kid would go, "This isn't my dream, Dad." And I go, "Yes, it is. It's our dream."
What's funny is Bryce managed to really injure himself doing theater by jumping off a giant platform.
You know, don't we all?
No, we don't. I actually never did that in all my years of doing theater.
Don't we all?
Will you tell that story?
We were in rehearsals for a show called Catch Me If You Can, based off that one Leonardo DiCaprio movie. And the old set for Tarzan was still in the theater, so they had a big mountain on the back of the stage. and I climbed it and I was at the top, and they told me that the pillars would be a lot shorter for this show and that I shouldn't jump off of it. And I went, I would like to jump off of it. And she went, you shouldn't do that. And I went, I'm going to do it. I'll be fine. And so I jumped off of it and kicked my feet and like clipped a little bit. And when I landed on the ground, everyone could see and hear the ligaments in one of my knees exploded. And were they ever really repaired? No.
Nah, they grow back. Don't worry.
Nope, they don't. They do not. They, in fact, do not do that. If you stretch your ligament, you can't do anything. I mean, you can get surgery, but that's kind of it. So I was watching the Packers versus the Bears game in week 16 of the regular season, where Packers quarterback Jordan Love, he basically got headbutted in the head by Bears defensive end Austin Booker. He was pulled from the game and went through the concussion protocol. And I'll be honest, I had to stop watching that game because I just couldn't stop thinking about it because it was so, I was like, oh shit, he got headbutted in the head and he's not going to be well. And it's like at this point in a / not good, this is not good, but it's kind of a meme that Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has had an obscene amount of concussions to the point that there is an entire Wikipedia article called Tua Tagovailoa concussion controversy. And I will say that both what happened to Tua and with Damar Hamlin's on-field cardiac arrest has led to changes in player safety measures, but there is definitely still much to be desired. But definitely after what happened with Tua getting put back in way too early after having a concussion, they did institute some changes.
I feel like it's a thing where a lot of like women football fans with good politics are like, you know, rightfully concerned. And then I think about the MAGA women in my family who are football fans, and I feel like the way they feel is probably like, you guys are so uppity. Just be a cool girl like us and be like, this is all fine.
Many things I am a fan of have problems. Things that you are passionate about, you can also acknowledge the issues with. And that doesn't mean that you're uppity. It just means that you can appreciate nuance.
Yeah, but I want my husband to not be mad at me, so I have to say I agree with everything he thinks, and I can never be critical of anything.
I don't have a husband, so.
I don't have a husband.
I do want to talk about some of the good parts of football, though, because like I mentioned, I watch football. Football makes me feel more connected to my family, and I saw that sentiment expressed in a lot of articles I read. And football is a great way to find community. I love going to sports bars to watch games with other people, especially if you can find a bar that is like for the team that you're watching. So like I live above a Bills bar, and so like I have become a little bit of a Bills fan this year because it's really fun to go watch Bills games at a Bills bar. A lot of my friends in New York went to Arizona State University, and like we'll go watch ASU football games at alumni sponsored events, and it's really fun to like watch games with other fans. Sky Payne, a Los Angeles Rams fan, said, I think our lives are like, it's such a disaster all the time, and I will take the small joys I can get. That feeling I get when I see my team win and when I am winning in fantasy football, where I get to build a community with my friends, brings me a lot of joy, and it outweighs the bad parts for me. And I'm not sure that having more femme fans will change the NFL, but some female fans have mentioned hope for that. So Aubrey, this is a quote from a Jacksonville Jaguars fan based in Miami. Her name is Alan Gins Ayers, and she said this.
Having more female eyes on the sport is probably a good thing going forward. And even if I'm not consciously thinking about how my dollars or attention is profiting things that I don't necessarily support, I think that having an audience of people who are maybe more concerned about racial equity and gender equity and player safety will automatically put pressure on the league to make different decisions in the future. I don't know that I think that's true.
I think it's interesting because I think especially if we look at there is a correlation between uptick in female fan viewership and the increase of women having jobs in the NFL. So I do think we have specifically seen that. I think we have seen the gender equity thing definitely change. I am also less convinced about the racial equity and the player safety stuff. But I do think that like there is a piece of that I think is true. And I can understand where the sentiment comes from.
I just feel like at the end of the day, it's so just like, I don't know. I think my big criticism of just sports in general is I just feel it is so indicative of like everything I hate about capitalism, where I don't know, like, at the end of the day, it's a money-making institution, and they're just going to do whatever is going to get them money. And so if they realize, oh, we're losing out on, like, 50% of the population, now let's do some things to appeal to that. It's not because the NFL is, like, kind and good-hearted. It's just because they want money from women.
Oh, so I don't disagree with that at all. And I guess I would say that if the output of that is that some equity measures happen as a result of that, that is not that to me is still a positive.
And I agree with that. I think where I'm coming from is like, I just want to call a spade, and like, I don't want people to be like, oh my god, like the NFL is doing this because like their values are so good. It's like, no, they want to make money off of you, and if there are good things that come from that, I think that that's good. But at the end of the day, they want your dollars. And if crazy shit happens in our political sphere, I think that they will turn pretty quick.
Sure, I agree with that. I do think that applies to also like movies as well in like Hollywood.
Yes. And this is not like this point I'm making is in no way exclusive just to the NFL.
Yeah, unfortunately we live in a system where pretty much anything that you can love, the people who are in charge of it are likely motivated by
right. Well, I think that's part of
money.
The thing, right, is that with me, like, because I'm not already a football fan, I think I'm able to like see these things as barriers to me being into it. Whereas I'm such a movie fan, I'm able to have more of the cognitive dissonance of like, yeah, it's complex. And I think, and ultimately it is complex. And I am probably being too black and white about the NFL. Like, I want to be clear too, I don't judge anyone for being like an NFL fan or a sports fan or like just a football fan in general. It's just like, it's just not my bag.
And that's really fine. And I think it's true. I think I specifically come from the specific position of someone who like grew up not really a sports fan and has become one as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of me, it's a me episode. So we have to talk about me. So I grew up, quote unquote, watching football because my family was a sports family, but I didn't really care. Specifically, both my parents went to USC, so we watched a lot of USC football growing up. And we also watched a lot of USC football at the time where a lot of guys who were USC football players became big deal NFL players. So NFL-wise, my dad was born a Packers fan, so we had Packers merch. We watched the Packers games, and we also briefly became New Orleans Saints fans from 2006 to 2010 because we had a family-wide obsession with running back Reggie Bush, who went to USC. I never really cared about football. I wasn't super invested in watching it outside of when we went to a game in person or during the Super Bowl. I didn't understand it and I didn't have any real interest in learning. I loved watching Reggie Bush. I was also in love with USC alumni and Green Bay Packers linebacker Clay Matthews as a teenager, but I don't think I watched any football besides the Super Bowl. However, everything changed during the pandemic when I started going over to Bryce's house to watch football. Before we get to that though, Aubrey, I do think I need you to look at Clay Matthews because I think you're going to like Clay Matthews.
Is he not going to be in the bracket later?
No, because he's retired and also he wasn't a quarterback.
Oh, okay.
But just look up Clay Matthews and just go on Google Images.
This is the kind of man you would be attracted to. I think he looks like a thumb.
Look at Reggie Bush.
Bryce, I hope you know you're muted in case you're trying to do any commentary. Oh, he is fine as hell.
Reggie Bush is so fucking beautiful, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
I do know I was muted. I was trying to keep myself from scoffing whenever Mackenna said the Packers or Clay Matthews.
Why?
Fuck the Packers!
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree, fuck the Packers, but I love you, Clay Matthews.
Nope, Clay Matthews, down with the ship.
Who were your childhood football blorbos, Bryce?
Matthew Stafford was a really big one. I was a big fan of Amir Abdullah, a running back for the Lions that has bounced around forever.
Yep.
It's mostly just Lions players. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, like Quandre Diggs, Glover Neal. That was my real peak as a child from our 9-7 gallivants of the early 2010s.
It's just so funny hearing you talk about like Reggie Bush, right? Like, oh, he was a childhood favorite of mine, and and he's retired, right? So I expect like, oh God, he must be so old, and it's like he's 40,
yes,
prime of his life. His life has just begun.
It's like Jalen Hurts, who is my man, we're the same age. He's like 6 months younger than me, and he's
crazy.
Already won a Super Bowl. So I watched a lot of football with Bryce in 2020 and 2021, which was awesome. Fond memories of sitting in Bryce's living room, staring deeply into the eyes of the Nicolas Cage poster that just leaned against Bryce's wall at his old apartment. It was also a time when I was working at Dutch Bros Coffee, wherein I often had to talk to people for a long time standing at the window. And being able to talk to people about football was super useful in that context. Bryce mentioned earlier that like football is a thing that you often can talk to about with a lot of people, so it can be like good filler conversation. This was also the time that Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers was revealing himself to be a wacko smacko anti-vaxxer. So I needed a new team. And there was one day where Bryce and I went through all of the football quarterbacks and I picked which one I thought was the hottest. And the answer is world's most beautiful man, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Go Birds. In addition to being both beautiful and age-appropriate for me, he is by all accounts a sweetie pie and an advocate for women in sports and employs an all-female management team, including his social media, marketing, communications, and sport agent team members. He is married to his college sweetheart, who is a astonishingly beautiful woman. In addition to Jalen Hurts, the superior Kelce brother, Jason Kelce, was on the Eagles at the time of my choosing them. I look up Jason Kelce.
I know what Jason Kelce looks like. I do think of the Kelce. I gotta see the side by side, and I'll do my official take. All right, Jason Kelce. Okay. The picture that always comes up when you look up Travis Kelce is the one where he is red. and it's so hard because I do think Travis Kelce is like an attractive man, but then the first time, every time you look him up, it's just the picture where he is just the red man. Let's see. I think that Travis Kelce is probably more conventionally attractive, but I would probably rather try to date Jason Kelce. He just seems like more of a vibe.
I love Jason Kelce. He is more of a vibe. I like their podcast. They're both like sweetie pies, but I love Jason Kelce.
That's the interesting thing is like I'm a little bit plugged into like some of like the like specifically the like Taylor Swift snark subreddits because I find the criticism of her very interesting, and I see a lot of like criticism of like Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce where I think a lot of like Taylor Swift detractors try to be like these guys are MAGA and are conservative and they want to take away everyone's rights, and then like you like actually listen to them talk ever. And I'm like, I don't know. I think that they are probably just like, I think they're probably just like kind of dumb, but like, I think they're like funny and nice. I don't think that they're like big Trumpers.
No, especially not with everything I know about Jason Kelce's wife.
Well, right. Like, that's where I'm also like...
And Taylor Swift.
Well, right, because, like, Donald Trump has, like, straight up, like, said things about Taylor Swift, and I feel like if he was, like, a, like, hardcore Trump supporter, that would, like, not be consistent with him being in a relationship with her. Or would require a level of cognitive dissonance that, like, I don't know that I don't know humans are capable of. But maybe.
Yeah. So I chose the Philadelphia Eagles to be my football team because I am in love with Jalen Hurts and Jason Kelce. And I think a lot of people would be like, you can't pick a football team because you think guys are hot. And to that I would say, why not? Men play video games all the time because the girls in the game are hot. Why can't I decide to be an Eagles fan because Jalen Hurts is so sexy, I think I would get sweaty if he was within 10 feet of me and he seems like he's a good guy? Why can't I be an Eagles fan because Jason Kelce is an adorable bear of a man and makes me laugh on his podcast? I would also be remiss if I did not, at this point, mention my soft spot for Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown. There are both no good reasons and no bad reasons behind which football team you choose. There might be bad reasons. If you're like, I like the Chiefs because I think Tyreek Hill is awesome, I have questions. And here's the thing. Jason Kelce is no longer on the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts will not be the quarterback for the Eagles forever, but I'm locked in now. I love the act of saying "Go Birds" to everyone else I see in Eagles gear way too much to ever stray from the fold. And to be clear, when Bryce and I, initially, my rankings are different now, but when Bryce and I went through all the quarterbacks, I also really liked then Detroit Lions and current LA Rams quarterback Matt Stafford. My brother's friend, Tyler, played football with Justin Herbert, the current LA Chargers quarterback, and said brother friend Tyler is Tyler Shuck, one of the current New Orleans Saints quarterbacks. So I also have a soft spot for all those teams when they aren't playing against the Eagles because I like those guys, but I wouldn't call myself a Rams or a Chargers or a Saints fan the way that I would call myself an Eagles fan. Mm-hmm. And I think it is fun to talk about football with my female friends who also watch football. Like, I think sometimes there is this perception that women who get into football do it as some sort of like pick-me behavior, but I don't think that's true. At my birthday recently, my friend and Green Bay Packers friend Davey were yapping about football, and we both also freaked the fuck out when we found out we both had crushes on Clay Matthews as teenagers. And that's on female friendship, baby.
What is interesting about where I live is that, you know, Kentucky doesn't have an NFL team, but everyone here is obsessed with college football.
Do you know who was at one point the University of Louisville quarterback?
Travis Kelce.
No, he was a tight end, Aubrey.
Maybe you wanted to switch it up.
Okay. My brother's friend Tyler Shuck was the quarterback for the University of Louisville.
That's awesome.
While you were living there, when you first moved there.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. So with that all said, it is time for the 2026 draft, but not the NFL draft where college hopefuls get drafted onto an NFL team.
This is more important.
Contracts.
This is more
and sign
illustrious.
Contracts for an amount of money that makes me physically nauseous. No, it's time for Aubrey to draft herself a quarterback.
Great.
Also, this isn't really a draft. It's more of a March Madness style bracket. But basically, I, over the past 2 weeks, collected data from a wide variety of respondents on which quarterbacks Aubrey, I think I removed you from my close friends story, so you didn't see this. From a wide variety of respondents on which quarterbacks they found the most and least attractive. Initially, I just asked who the most attractive quarterback was, but that only yielded me the same 6 guys over and over again. So I then sent folks a slideshow with photos of all current starting quarterbacks in the NFL, asterisk, and asked them to send me their top 5 most attractive and least attractive. And boy, howdy, folks. Did I get an insane group of people to answer this.
Wow, I'm so excited. So, because obviously this is an audio format, I am assuming what you will do is send me I guess you'll tell me the name and I'll look up the person?
Oh, I have a slideshow.
Oh, okay, great.
Don't worry, I have a slideshow. So I want to talk a little bit about the respondent pool. We had 30 respondents to this survey. We had cis people. We had trans people. We had lesbians. We had straight men. We had straight women. We had bisexuals of all gender identities. This group was primarily composed of older Gen Z and young millennials, but my aunt did help with this. The group was 73% white and 27% people of color. And I asked other people because I didn't want to base the seed I gave each quarterback on strictly my own taste or me and Bryce's taste. So I'm very grateful to everyone who took the time to talk to me about this. So thank you to Mark, Hannah, Sedona, Naomi, Loie, Madeline, Aaron L., Vibu, Anna, Linda, that's my aunt, Roman, Eleanor, Jeff, Isabel, Aaron R., Ruchir, Gracie, Catherine, Annie, Max, Jillian, Anne-Marie, Miranda, Christine, AJ, Davy, India, Haley, Grace, and Mari.
Wow.
I'm
honored that I get to, this was all for me, guys. You did it all for me.
I'll also note that I said asterisks earlier because there were some teams where there is more than one relevant quarterback. When I sent the initial slide to Bryce was like, it feels wrong to not include some of these guys. So in the initial survey, both were included. But for the final bracket of 32, I dropped whichever of the quarterbacks from a given team ranked lower to give each team their best shot at winning Aubrey.
This is the hardest, I think. Definitely I would have ever worked on an episode. I think this is probably the hardest you've worked on an episode.
You haven't even seen the slideshow.
Oh.
You don't even know how hard I worked on this episode.
And here's the thing, guys. There is something to this because whoever wins, I will be a fan of that team forever. The way that I say that I am a fan of the Washington Capitals and the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz, I have been told, is a crazy pull, but I saw, you know what? That game was amazing. I was in Salt Lake City, Utah. It was the most pure event ever because obviously nobody was drinking because it was all Mormons.
Aubrey,
yeah.
It is now time to go through the bracket.
Oh my God.
I want to say up front, I am anticipating you making some picks that are going to make me extremely confused and upset. I've already accepted that emotionally, and I've moved on. This isn't about me. This isn't about Bryce. This isn't about the audience. It's about you.
I want to say, if my number one who I end up picking is anyone else's number one, please contact me directly because we're the same kind of person.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Why are you scared?
Because I feel like this is a big decision. I feel like people are going to get mad at me.
They will.
I'm going to get mad at you.
It's me. It's Bryce.
Yeah, it's me and Bryce. We're going to get in real time mad at you.
Wow.
So don't worry about it.
I wonder... I can't wait to see what crazy poll I end up doing. What would be the most random team you think I could pick?
I don't know.
I think if you ended up somehow rooting for the Minnesota Vikings, I would be aghast, considering what their quarterback looks like.
Is he on the list?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a quarterback from every team on the list. Every team has a shot of you winning.
Wow.
Of winning you, as it were.
They get a lifetime fan.
All right, welcome to Aubrey Chooses a Quarterback. Let's get sexy.
Let's fucking go, guys.
All right, Aubrey, our first matchup is between our number 1 seed and our number 32 seed.
Okay, and what does the seed mean? Is like the one everyone thinks
number
will
one
win?
was, so Jalen had the most people say he was hot, and Lamar had the most times ended up in a bottom 5.
Okay.
So I've seeded them. So we have Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, who is 27 years old. He is 6'1". And I'm not biased at all, and then we have Lamar Jackson, who is lovely, who is 28 years old. He is 6'2" and the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Aubrey, who do you choose between Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson?
I'm obviously going to have to pick Jalen Hurts because he's so attractive. He doesn't have to play football. He could just do anything else. You know what? He would do crazy numbers if he was like a geometry teacher.
All right, Aubrey has selected for her first pick Jalen Hurts.
So does that mean Baltimore Ravens are out?
The Baltimore Ravens are out.
Wow. R.I.P.
The Ravens are out. I
don't really like the city of Baltimore.
You do like the city
of
Baltimore?
I really don't. Baltimore, Maryland has very strange vibes to it, to be honest.
Well, next, Aubrey, we have Riley Leonard, who is 23 years old, 6'4", and the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, versus Tyler Shuck, who is 26 years old, 6'5", and the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints.
So these are children, to be clear.
Yes.
These are children.
One of these men is my age.
Well, one of these men is fully my little brother's very good friend.
And you probably told me at some point in this recording.
One of these men went to our high school, Aubrey.
Oh God, which one looks like he went to Hamilton High School in Chandler, Arizona? Oh, all right. I'm trying to think. I'm going to put myself in an environment. All right.
You don't have to pick the one who we went to high school with.
No, I'm trying to put myself, if I was in some kind of like situation. I also don't like tall men. These are too tall.
Yes, they are 6'4" and 6'5", respectively.
That's disgusting.
Bryce, is that validating?
No. I would still give it all up for a few inches.
I would be clear to everyone. Bryce is like 6'1".
I'm short. I'm 5'11".
You're not 5'11". Shut up.
I am so fucking tiny.
I'm going to give this one to Riley Leonard because he looks like he would be kinder to animals.
That's insane!
Nothing saying. Also, Tyler Shuck is my little brother's very good friend and did go to our high school. Sorry, Tyler.
Well, catch you in the next life, Tyler.
I used to actually dog sit Tyler's dog, so it's funny you said that Riley Leonard looks like he is kinder to animals.
What kind of dog did they have? Was it
a Chihuahua that looked a lot like Butters?
Oh, no. All right, well, I'll catch you in the next life.
All right, next matchup, we have Baker Mayfield, who is 30 years old. He is 6'1", and he is the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we have Bryce Young, who is 24 years old, 5'10", and the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers.
Hello, Baker. Okay. All right. He's kind of cute. I like his beard. Okay, Florida man. I pick him.
Yes, I guess I got that you pick Baker Mayfield.
This is great news for my bracket.
It's great news for your bracket.
He looks really sleepy in his picture, and I like that in a man.
Great. Well, we have our next matchup, which is, so we're going to find out how Aubrey feels with the Minnesota Vikings. JJ McCarthy, who is 22 years old, 6'3", and the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings.
He's hideous.
And we have Also, I want to say that I did feel a little bit bad about this entire thing, but then I remember that all of these guys are millionaires, and I don't care anymore. Mm-hmm. Caleb Williams, who is 24 years old, 6'1", and the quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
And paints his nails and drinks matcha.
Does he really?
He does. That's Caleb Williams' whole shtick.
Patient zero of the performative man trope.
Wow. You know what? I do love a performative man. And by the way, I'm sorry, JJ McCarthy, you're only 22. It's just, I've taught children your age. And I'm sure you're very kind, but
it's Caleb Williams.
The Bears. I do like Bears fans.
This one's great because I wanted both of them to lose. Why Bears fans?
I meet a lot of Bears fans around here, and they're always really nice.
I guess you are in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Terrible news.
It's like the nearest major city to me.
Yeah. All right, we have Aaron Rodgers, who is 42 years old, 6'2", and is currently the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we have Shadur Sanders, who is 23 years old, 6'2", and the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
And a Pro Bowler.
This feels like you're asking me which method of execution I would prefer. I don't think that there's a right answer. God, it's really a question of, do I go with the insane man who looks like he would hate me immediately, Or do I give even the opportunity to be in the same group as my family? And I have decided that today I will not be a Cleveland Browns fan. Aaron Rodgers, you do get to advance to the next round.
Ow.
You're letting A-Rod hit.
He is old as shit.
Aubrey, a few minutes ago about Reggie Bush, 40 isn't that old. Aaron Rodgers, he is old as shit.
It's because Reggie Bush looks like he is spry. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's about to die.
All right, next we have Brock Purdy, who is 26 years old, 6'1", and the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And we have Jordan Love, who is 27 years old. He is 6'4", and the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
This decision features the only starting quarterback in the NFL who Bryce has taken a bath with.
Whoa. I'm going to say that I think it was Brock Purdy, and he will be my selection.
It was. Brock Purdy was the quarterback at Perry High School at the same time that Tyler Shough was the quarterback at Hamilton High School.
That's great.
It was Brock Purdy, a childhood friend of Bryce DiLullo here in Arizona. And his older sister used to babysit both of us when we were babies. And there's a picture of us in the bath as babies.
That's great. I will say big apologies to Jordan Love and Green Bay, Wisconsin. I've always had this conspiracy in my mind that I will one day live in Wisconsin.
Oh, interesting.
I truly in my heart feel like I'm going to live in Madison, Wisconsin. I don't know why, but every time I hear Madison, Wisconsin, I'm like, I will live there one day.
All right, we have moved on to Dak Prescott, who is 32 years old, 6'2", and the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Or we have Cam Ward, who is 23 years old, 6'2", and the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans.
Okay, Dak. I like the guys. I like the guys who have fake names. Baker, not a real name. Dak, not a real name. I didn't say this at the beginning. I am going to say it now because I will allow the Dallas Cowboys to advance. I have never met a Dallas Cowboys fan who I didn't find insufferable. Yeah, he's cute.
Dak Prescott.
Way to go, Dak.
Way to go, Dak. Next up, we have Sam Darnold, who is 28 years old, 6'3", and the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. And we have Justin Herbert, who is 27 years old, 6'6", and the quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers.
This one is so hard because I see a range of different hair lengths and facial hair on both of these guys.
Yes, I gave you some variety with these two boys.
And it's really hard because if it was just like one picture versus another, like each one would win in a different lineup of pictures. So I'm going to take what I think is the best picture. Oh, God.
This one's interesting because I think this is kind of like when a man includes old photos on his Tinder profile. Because seeing Sam Darnold in a Jets jersey, that's like 4 years ago.
Yeah. There weren't a lot of good pictures of Sam Darnold is what I'll say. It's just because he's not as like, well, I guess now it's different because now he's going to the Super Bowl, but he wasn't as like namey when I was looking for images of him, I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
What is the most recent picture of either of them?
Both of these, this one and this one are like their like images from like the roster this year.
Okay. All right. Then that actually makes that easier. Okay. Justin Herbert, you will advance despite being 6'6", which is a disgusting height.
Hey, Justin Herbert, I like that you're 6'6".
Nobody should be 6'6". That is demonic.
I do. My husband should be 6'6" because I would like to feel like a tiny little baby.
Before we move on here, I think there's a really interesting thing because when Aubrey said that, I thought instantly she was going the other way. Because Sam Darnold has a beard and looks like a grown-up, and Justin Herbert looks like a 14-year-old in that photo. Compared to the photo on the right with his long hair and mustache, I'm like, Justin Herbert's hot as fuck in that photo.
Yeah, Justin Herbert is hot as fuck in that middle photo.
No, he's got like a kind of bedhead thing going on in this roster photo, and I like that.
You fucks with that?
I do. He looks, like I just said, I like a man who's a little sleepy.
Yeah. We go to our next matchup, which is Patrick Mahomes, who is 30 years old, 6'2", and the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, versus Joe Burrow, who was 29 years old, 6'4", and the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals.
God, I as I've said, my grandma loves Patrick Mahomes. Isn't his wife racist? Is that like a thing?
Well, she's not. I mean, we don't really. Well, okay, yes, she's very MAGA, but
I don't even know why I'm asking this because Joe Burrow looks like he could be a Skarsgård brother, and that's gonna do it for me. God, he's so pretty. He doesn't need to be doing football. Free him.
He's got cold steel.
Give him a modeling contract.
We have next up Kyler Murray, who is 28 years old, 5'10", and the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. And we have Tyrod Taylor, who is 36 years old, 6'1", and the quarterback for the New York Jets.
I will say Kyler Murray's little smile he has in this photo from the roster makes him look absolutely pure. Whereas Tyrod Taylor, I get it, he's being more serious. But I'm going to go with a guy who, he looks like he's in a silly, goofy mood. So Kyler Murray, you're going to advance.
Shout out to Arizona one time.
You know what?
He really needed a win. Not a good year for Kyler Murray.
Not a good year for Kyler Murray.
But he might get me.
He might get you.
He might get you.
I don't think he will, considering your recent comments about Joe Burrow, considering they're up against each other next.
Just quick check-in to my bracket as we go along. We're 10 decisions in. I am 4 for 10 with how Aubrey is chosen.
Oh, what
am
I?
Already completely different worlds.
I can open my bracket too.
Wait, so did you guys fill it out for yourselves or how you thought I would answer?
I filled it out
for
myself.
Great.
Which was a really interesting task, looking at a bunch of men and going, which one do I think is hotter?
You have to tell me when I eliminate your number one.
Aubrey and I are 6 for 10 right now.
Okay.
All right. Next, we have Michael Penix Jr., who is 25 years old, 6'3", and the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. And we have Josh Johnson, who is 39 years old, 6'3", and the quarterback for the Washington Commanders.
Again, I'm going to have to just give it to who has a kinder smile. And in all of these pictures of Josh Johnson, he just has such a friendly demeanor about him. And I really like that.
Right, Josh Johnson.
This one, real quick, I do want Aubrey to pull up a Google right now and look at Jaden Daniels. And tell me if Jaden Daniels would conquer this for you. He's unfortunately injured this year.
Yeah.
Aw, he's cute. Who does he look like? I can't remember who he is reminding me of, but he's cute. I think Josh Johnson would still probably win.
Good to know.
Good to know. All right. Next up, we have Jared Goff, who is 31 years old, 6'2", and the quarterback for the Detroit Lions. And we have Jackson Dart, 22 years old, 6'2", and the quarterback for the New York Giants.
You're telling me that is not Ryan Gosling on the left?
No, that is Jared Goff, quarterback for the Detroit Lions.
He does look a lot like Ryan Gosling.
All right. I'm going to have to go give it to football Ryan Gosling.
Thank God.
Thank God.
You know what? The Lions might actually go a lot further than I anticipated because I didn't realize there was a football Ryan Gosling.
You should see him in his Willy Wonka Halloween outfit.
And what if I told you that Jared Goff was the 27 seed and Jackson Dart was the number 6 seed, which I found very upsetting?
That's crazy.
I know. Obviously, everyone on this call picked Jared Goff in this matchup. Next up, we have Matthew Stafford, 37 years old, 6'3", quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams. And we have CJ Stroud, 24 years old, 6'3", and quarterback for the Houston Texans.
Hey, Matthew. Hi. Wow. He's cute. I like him.
You know what, Aubrey? I actually think that I've spent very little time with you, like seeing a cute boy.
What am I supposed to do?
No, I just have never seen you in this state, and I really like it.
I don't think anyone ever prepares you to experience your childhood heroes being objectified on a podcast.
Oh, yeah, because he's the one Bryce likes. Wow, you picked a really sexy hero. And again, it's like, I thought he'd be an old-ass man. He's 37.
No, he's 37 years old. He has played, and he's played 17 seasons in the NFL, and he's 37 years old.
A king. A king.
Yeah.
Do you want to know another fun fact about Matthew Stafford before we move on?
Yeah. Oh, always.
The day he was traded from the Detroit Lions to the Los Angeles Rams, it happened on a very specific night because it was my birthday. And if that doesn't prove that we're connected by fate itself, nothing will.
I remember this so viscerally. You were having such an interesting day that day. Next up, we have Drake May, who is 23 years old, 6'3", and the quarterback for the New England Patriots. And we have Tua Tagovailoa, who is 27 years old, 6'1", and the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins.
Drake May kind of reminds me of Charlie Kirk. And then the other guy
And that's why you're choosing Drake May. Let's go, America First Patriots, baby.
And then the other guy is the one with all the blunt force head trauma, right?
Yep.
Yep.
You know what? I don't know that he can multiply numbers that have at least 3 decimals, but I'd choose him.
I don't know that I think you can multiply numbers that have at least 3 decimals.
Look, I have a PhD.
We've done simple math on this podcast before.
Tua has my favorite slander nickname in all of football because the catchphrase Tua turned the ball over is immediately one of the greatest slander names of all time.
It's great. Next up, we have Bo Nix, who is 25 years old, 6'2", and the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. And we have Kenny Pickett, who is 27 years old. He is 6'3", and he's the quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, but all of the pictures of him are from when he was playing for the Steelers. But he is the quarterback for the Raiders.
They both look like they were there the day Charlie Kirk died.
They were there.
Aubrey, what do you mean?
Like, they were in the audience, fully seated, ready to watch him own the libs. And then they were the ones who got owned.
I disagree. I think Kenny Pickett looks like he plays, like, bass in a band.
No, he looks like he's chewing tobacco.
And I do want to say, an interesting thing about age in the NFL here, Bo Nix is in his second year. Kenny Pickett is already old enough to be a first-round draft pick bust and was shipped off because he sucked ass in Pittsburgh.
I love it.
And they're only 2 years apart.
I love an underdog story. Kenny, let's go.
I think Kenny Pickett is very cute.
I mean, hey, I love a meth head type guy.
If Kenny Pickett had like a couple of tattoos, it would really do it for me. Okay, and we have our last matchup of the first round, which is Josh Allen, who is 29 years old, 6'5", and on the Buffalo Bills. He's the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. And we have Trevor Lawrence, who is 26 years old, 6'6", and the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I like Josh Allen. He looks like Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, he kind of does.
He literally looks like Jensen Ackles. All right, yeah, not even a contest. Sorry, Trevor Lawrence I do actually find quite attractive because I like a guy who's a little weird.
Yes. I similarly picked Josh Allen over Trevor Lawrence, but I do want to say, because Trevor Lawrence was the 31 seed, but I actually I think Trevor Lawrence is very handsome, and I was surprised by how polarizing he was, because I actually find Trevor Lawrence quite handsome.
Trevor Lawrence to me looks like he would be playing bass in a band.
Oh, I agree with that too.
Yeah.
My input here is I marked Trevor Lawrence as my biggest bracket buster because I did make Trevor Lawrence the pick here. And weirdly, I love whatever Trevor Lawrence has got going on.
I think he's a very good, like he to me is like, Aubrey, you've said like Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts should quit to go model, but like Trevor Lawrence, like interesting looking, interesting, attractive to me.
He looks like he has a great personality, and I don't mean that in like a derogatory way.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to round 2 of our bracket, Aubrey. So we're getting closer.
All right.
Our next matchup, we do have Jalen Hurts versus Riley Leonard.
Obviously, Jalen Hurts. Sorry, Riley. It was never going to happen.
Obviously, it's Jalen Hurts.
I don't know what it is about Baker Mayfield.
Well, next we have Baker Mayfield versus Caleb Williams.
It's gonna be Baker Mayfield. I don't know. He got that dog in him.
I mean, he is our number 9 seed, so you're not alone in feeling that way.
Okay,
moving on.
I like that he's 6'1". That's short for football, and I love a short king.
Next, we have Aaron Rodgers versus Brock Purdy.
We gotta get the guy who's bathed with Bryce over the guy who doesn't believe in vaccines.
Brock Purdy moves on.
So hold on. So Aaron Rodgers is 42, but he was engaged to Shailene Woodley?
Yes.
How old is Shailene Woodley? I thought she was not that old.
How old do you think Shailene Woodley is?
I'm gonna say 32.
She's 34.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I think she needed to get away from him.
She did. She described her relationship as really horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brock Purdy moves on.
He gets to skate by another round.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make it through whoever wins. Dak Prescott versus Justin Herbert.
This one's a little hard. This is where a little bit of the stereotyping is going to come into play because I don't want to be a Cowboys fan. So Justin Herbert's going to continue.
Wow. I was trying to think because I had a Justin Herbert Dak Prescott matchup too, and I picked Justin Herbert. I thought you were going to pick Dak Prescott.
No, unfortunately, I had one girl in a college class once who was a really annoying Dallas Cowboys fan who forever tarnished that team for me.
Dang. Well, next up we have Joe Burrow versus Kyler Murray.
I mean, it's got to be Joe Burrow. He's so gorgeous.
Joe Burrow moves on. After that, we have Josh Johnson versus Jared Goff.
I'm going to have to obviously go with Ryan Gosling.
Obviously going with Ryan Gosling.
Keep it up, champ.
All right. Jared Goff moves on to our I think Yeah, quarterfinals. Jared Goff moves on to the quarterfinals.
Oh my God.
Then we have Matt Stafford versus Tua Tagovailoa.
We gotta push Matt Stafford through. He's so gorgeous.
Push Matt Stafford through. I love him.
He just has such fluffy hair. I don't know. He's cute.
He is cute. And then in our last round of our second round, we have Kenny Pickett versus Josh Allen.
It's obviously going to be Josh Allen.
Obviously going to be Josh Allen.
Sorry, Kenny. Your name is Kenny.
They killed Kenny.
I killed Kenny.
You did.
Oh God, I hope I didn't get all of the men of color out of this league already. Guys,
No,
I got one at home.
You still have one.
He's not gonna make it, I fear.
Oh, yeah, you're probably about to knock him out, which is gonna make me upset, but I will move on. I will move on.
is looking at the iceberg right now.
It is. This is going to upset me, but I will move on from it. We have Jalen Hurts versus Baker Mayfield.
God, Baker Mayfield has an allure. I
will say Baker Mayfield did not make it past a single round for me.
I just who does he look like? Like, he gives me a John Mayer vibe. And I love that. I love how he looks like a little bit mean, and I think that's what I'm really liking right now. Are
you choosing Baker?
I'm gonna always choose guy who's a little mean.
Sorry, Jalen, but I still love you.
I know you're the top of Mackenna's bracket, but
oh my God, yeah. I mean, well, I think he had 10 votes more than the next. Like Jalen Hurts had 10 more votes than Josh Allen did, who's the number 2 seed. The girlies were in on Jalen Hurts, let it be said. Next up, we have Brock Purdy versus Justin Herbert.
I'm gonna keep pushing Justin Herbert through, and it's mainly because in this picture we have on the bottom, he looks a little bit like Bo Burnham.
And he's 6'6", much like Bo Burnham, who is also 6'6".
A disgusting thing that I may be able to look past.
All right, sorry. Both Chandler, Arizona boys are gone. All right, we move to Joe Burrow versus Jared Goff.
Joe Burrow has to be the boy all the girls like right now, right?
I mean, Joe Burrow has been the boy all the girls like for many years of him being in the NFL.
God, he's just so gorgeous. It's really a matter of, am I more attracted to Bill Skarsgård or Ryan Gosling? And I'm a Skarsgård fan.
Skarsgårdian.
So,
all right. Sorry, Jared Goff.
I knew it had to happen.
He made it really far, though.
All right, so that moves on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's also a little nerd, and I like him for that. Move on to our last match of the quarterfinals, Matt Stafford versus Josh Allen.
This, to me, is quite definitive. And really, I think this is maybe a shakeup for some people. But we are going to have Matthew Stafford continue.
Matthew Stafford moves on. This is funny because Matt Stafford came down to my final 2 when kind of like me and Bryce talked about this before, and I actually moved Josh Allen this time because I recently saw an interview with Josh Allen that was very sweet, and I was like, well, he moves on. All right, we are down to our final 4.
God, this is stressing me.
Baker Mayfield versus Justin Herbert.
It's obvious it's going to be Baker Mayfield. I don't know, literally his fucking roster picture, he just looks like he is I don't know. He doesn't even look like he wants to be there.
He just doesn't do it for me. And then we have our second semifinal matchup, Joe Burrow versus Matthew Stafford.
This is where, so are we at a point in this where I can ask a little bit about the culture of the teams? Because I'm also committing to the team.
Sure.
So what is, which of these teams is better?
The Rams by a long shot.
Rams are way better at football.
Is anyone a fan of the Bengals, or do people just think Joe Burrow is sexy?
My friend Ruchir Kazanchi is a gigantic Cincinnati Bengals fan.
There are a lot of Bengals fans over in that portion of the country who have been suffering for a long time.
Yes.
And they will continue to suffer forever because their owners cheat.
Yes.
I think they're going to have to continue to suffer because I think Matthew Stafford is going to take Joe Burrow on this one.
Matthew Stafford moves on.
Oh my.
That brings it down to, I think I know Aubrey's answer here, which is going to be crazy business. Aubrey, it comes down to Matthew Stafford versus Baker Mayfield.
All right, this is where I'm going to get into the nitty gritty, and I'm going to pull up their Wikipedia pages.
If I told you that Baker Mayfield, before getting drafted first overall, got in trouble for being publicly intoxicated on his college campus and ran away from the cops and tried to beat one up, does that help his stock or hurt it?
God,
It might help his stock with Aubrey.
So the public intoxication, bad, but then he tried to throw hands with the cop. God, and he just looks like such a douchebag, whereas Matthew Stafford just looks so kind. All right, so there's the Baker Mayfield. Let's look at Matthew Stafford's. And I don't normally like it.
While Aubrey deliberates, Bryce, would you like to talk through our brackets as Aubrey makes her final decision?
I would love to talk through my bracket.
Perfect.
Just a bit here. I noticed very quickly that it was impossible to ignore my own personal feelings about each quarterback, because every time I look at Jared Goff, I do feel an incredible sense of wonder. And I think it speaks a lot to what I call now TikTok edit brain, where there are sometimes edits I see on TikToks of certain people or songs that I just can't stop thinking about. And there's an edit on TikTok of Jared Goff in the locker room when Dan Campbell says you're good enough for Detroit, man, and then does all of his highlights set to a great song. That's enough for me. So of course Jared Goff won my bracket because he's the Detroit Lions quarterback. But also, I love his damn story. Interestingly, my final four were Jalen Hurts from the top left side, Dak Prescott from the bottom left side. Matt Stafford did make it all the way. He barely beat Trevor Lawrence. And I even wrote down that part of me wants to pick T-Law on attractiveness alone, but Matthew Stafford's nostalgia did it for me. And then it came down to Joe Burrow and Jared Goff, and I went with Jared Goff. Right. And ultimately, Jared Goff defeated Dak Prescott in the finals, because I did choose Dak Prescott over Jalen Hurts, because I think the fact that Dak is also really attractive, but he's more attractive in like this weird, I almost wanted to call it a down-to-earth kind of way, where Jalen Hurts does look scary to look at for extended periods of time.
He's so beautiful. My bracket came down to, my final four were all J names. We had Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and then it came down to Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, and I almost went with Jalen Hurts. I want to say, I have recently become a convert to Joe Burrow because he always kind of gave me serial killer face. He always kind of gave me American Psycho. But then I started watching him, like interviews with him more. Specifically, I got turned on to interviews of him talking about like fossils and snakes and things. And that man is so adorable and like so geeky in his special interests that I was like, oh, I think that like me and here's the thing. In my final, I think I would be a better wife to Joe Burrow than I would be a wife to Jalen Hurts. But it's still got to be Jalen, baby. But like it did this time around, after like learning what I know about Joe Burrow and his like sweet little nerdy little brain, I was like, damn, like I think I have like a crush on Joe Burrow, but I'm in love with Jalen Hurts. My other sort of like things that were interesting was Bryce Young beat Baker Mayfield, and then Bryce Young also beat Caleb Williams, because I think that Bryce Young is also very delightful in interviews. And also I dated a guy who kind of looks like Bryce Young last year. And then I think the other thing of note is Jordan Love moved on. I picked Jordan Love over Brock Purdy personally. And I think those are like the sort of like the main discrepancies between my bracket and Aubrey's bracket. I did Tyler Shuck. Tyler, you did make it one round in my bracket. You made it past Riley Leonard, but then it came up to be you and Jalen Hurts. And unfortunately, I love Tyler like a brother, so he's not going to beat Jalen Hurts in a game of attractiveness. All right, Aubrey, do you have your decision between Baker Mayfield and Mr. Matt Stafford?
I need someone to tell me about the culture of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Bryce?
They've got a good culture. They're scrappy, but they've never been too good. They won a Super Bowl back in the 2000s with John Gruden and a really innovative offensive style that sort of popularized the West Coast offense, which was pretty great. Their last Super Bowl win was in 2020 with Tom Brady when he moved on from the Patriots and then won. And they've been a pretty steady success ever since. Went from Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles as the head coach. This year they went 8-9 and barely missed the playoffs, but it all came down to their final game against the Panthers. And then some stuff that was out of their control. So I think they're a pretty good franchise. They're quality. They're not in the bottom feeders. They're not a juggernaut, but they're good.
And what is the other team? What is Matthew Stafford's team?
The Los Angeles Rams.
The Rams, they've been really great ever since Sean McVay took over as the head coach. They're very LA. They spend a lot of money, get really expensive free agents, trade their draft picks like nobody's business, and just seem to have stars coming out of the woodwork.
So it really feels like this boils down to, like, do I essentially pick a sort of, like, scrappy underdog, maybe kind of boy failure team, or, like, an American dynasty?
In a way.
Kind of. In a way. I would say that the interesting thing about the Rams, too, though, is that, like, the weird thing about, like, LA and football teams is, like, they have a weird relationship to their football teams as, like, a city.
Okay.
I have an answer in my heart for you.
I also have an answer in my heart for you.
What we're going to do is, on the count of 3, we're all going to say at the same time. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Matthew Stafford.
Baker Mayfield. Oh,
no! We both said Baker Mayfield and you said Matt Stafford. That's so funny.
Well, it's because I look at him and I look into his eyes and I feel like I'm calmed. I look into Baker Mayfield's eyes and I feel like I'm set for a wild ride, a life of ups and downs, of not knowing where I stand not knowing where he stands, not knowing where my team stands, not even knowing where Tampa Bay, Florida is on a map. But Matthew Stafford, I know Los Angeles. I've been to Los Angeles. I've loved Los Angeles. I've lived and died in Los Angeles. And in many ways, it's a city I consider home. And Matthew Stafford feels like I'm coming home. I'm coming home!
Yes.
That was so close to glory, because when I started filling out my bracket, I did put a star next to the one that I think Aubrey would choose. And I did choose Baker Mayfield taking Aubrey's bracket because of what he looks like.
I want to say, guys, I think it's really telling for me that it always boils down to, in the final minutes, do I pick the great, good guy who has never done anything wrong and is reliable and kind, or the worst man? and it's always really up in the air until the final seconds. But
well, I am going to include
go Rams. Go
Rams.
What do they have, like a slogan? Is there something they say?
Do they?
I don't know. It's certainly not like a Go Birds.
Well,
nope. I think they have Whose House, Rams House, but
what do the Buccaneers have?
Go Bucks.
Yeah, the Lions have One Pride, which has always been a little upsetting to me because it does sound like I'm gay when I say that.
And Bryce is homophobic, if you didn't know.
And I am homophobic.
I think the other thing, too, with why I feel more drawn to Matthew Stafford than Baker Mayfield is I feel like if I was watching football with my family and I was like, I love Baker Mayfield, I feel like they would be proud of that. Like, they'd be like, yeah, like he's controversial. He's something. Whereas if I was like, yeah, I love the Rams, I love Matthew Stafford, I feel like they'd be like, wow, fucking get out of here. He's cocked. He's cocked. And I'd be like, and I love him.
In a weird way, if I told you that they would actually really disapprove of Baker Mayfield, does that help you at all? Because Baker Mayfield famously was drafted first overall to the Browns, won them their first playoff game in years.
Hold on.
And then the next year they decided he wasn't good enough and they shipped him off. And then he became a success in Tampa Bay. And he's been saying, fuck you, Cleveland, ever since.
So once I made my decision, I texted my brother because I did want confirmation. And I said, I'm going to ask you such a random question, but Baker Mayfield or Matthew Stafford? And he said, as the better quarterback? And I said, no, just as people. And he said, it's Baker, Stafford is cucked by his wife, and it's sad. So did I not know?
That's a funny piece of real world lore, is that recently Matthew Stafford's wife has started a podcast, and she decided to tell this one story about when they were in college together. She wanted to try and sleep with the backups to make him jealous while they were on an off period. And then on NFL Twitter, that turned into Matthew Stafford is a cuckold.
He did say, but Stafford is a better quarterback. However, the streets fuck with Baker heavy. Dude is a dog. So that really does solidify for me that I think Baker Mayfield, he do got that dog in him. But that is the Hoffer in me that is drawn to that dog in him. But the doctor in me has to make different choices to break generational cycles, and that is why now this is a Rams house. And you know what? I'm an Aries. I'm a Ram.
Hey. And with that, also, what's very fun is none of our teams will be in the Super Bowl this evening, because we're releasing this the day of the Super Bowl. So none of our teams are going to be in the Super Bowl. So we can all just have a great time either watching it, not watching it, and not being that invested in the outcome of the game, except for Bryce has stated he is all in on the Seahawks.
Let's go!
Future Mackenna here. I have also decided to be all in on the Seahawks because of the crimes of the Patriots, and also Sam Darnold went to USC, and also my dad reminded me that Montanans sort of consider the Seahawks to be the hometown team because there's no other teams up in that area of the country. And Patrick O'Connell, who is a linebacker for the Seahawks, is from the same town in Montana as me and went to the University of Montana. Go Grizz. So, go Seahawks!
And you know what, guys? What I'm going to do right now to commemorate this, I'm going to go on Instagram, and I'm going to look up Matthew Stafford, and I'm going to follow him on Instagram, because he's gained a follower today.
That's great.
So I'm looking.
And Aubrey,
Yeah.
before we go, I have one really important question to ask you specifically.
Yeah.
Earlier in this podcast, I told you to remember a player on the Seattle Seahawks. If you can tell me their name, I will Venmo you $20 right now in real life.
It was obviously Uruguay Felipe.
Ah, so close. It was Nick Emanwari, safety for the Seattle Seahawks.
Aubrey does not get $20 today.
I'm pretty sure it was Uruguay Felipe.
Well, and I'm pretty sure that Bryce is going to buy me that bomber jacket that I want. And everyone, I just hope you've enjoyed Aubrey becoming a giant football fan that's never going to change, and she's definitely going to start watching football now.
I did Google it, and that jacket costs $250.
I know. I don't actually expect for you to buy me that jacket.
That's above my bit price. If it was under 100, then I was like, I'll do it for the bit. Over the bit price.
Over the bit price. But if anyone else wants to buy me it, you totally can.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Any final thoughts on football, our brackets, this season, Bad Bunny?
I love football, and it's one of my favorite pastimes. And recently, I've actually been watching and talking with football about a girl who doesn't know anything about football. And in a weird way, it's really fun to like start from the very beginning and teach it and talk through it instead of being like, God, you wouldn't get it. It's actually awesome to be like, oh, this is why I really like this defensive scheme. And they're closing the A gap. And she goes, that's nice. And I'm like, yeah, it is, huh? And maybe that's just talking about passions, but I think everyone should enjoy football. I think sports is a great equalizer. I think there are many terrible things about the league and the system of capital and the people who play it. But at the end of the day, I was recently in a sports bar to watch the playoff games, and I was in enemy territory. I had a Matthew Stafford Rams jersey on, and I was watching the Bears-Rams game because fuck the Bears, and that bar was full of Bears fans. And there was a point where Caleb Williams made a throw late in the fourth quarter and scored a touchdown where all the Bears fans erupted into this cheering and joy, and even I was moved by it. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, I'm witnessing history. And then they lost, because fuck the Bears. Fuck you, Caleb Williams. We love Matthew Stafford.
We love you, Matthew Stafford.
And that is the thing that links us all together.
Is what, Aubrey?
Is Matthew Stafford.
Can we say we love you, Matthew Stafford?
We love you, Matthew Stafford.
Goodbye.
Bye. Matthew Stafford. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Have a question or a topic that you would like for us to discuss? Send us an email at informedattraction@gmail.com.